Hey, good day. I finally unearthed myself from my winter hideaway of the presidential palace in the $40 motel. It's an interesting place to stay because it's right on the main drag, and pretty much everyone who's staying there is hiding out. I was visited, or the motel was visited by police many times looking for people who skipped bond or court time or whatever that. And it made me look up some statistics. There are 190 million people in America who have been incarcerated and are out on parole or have served their time, and yet they're still in prison. They're imprisoned by the status that prison puts them in. And there's a guy named Alex Jones who's a little wacky, but his heart's in the right place. And his show is called Prison Planet. And anyone who believes in a higher power can't believe that humanity is meant to treat each other the way we do. And we have all these rules and regulations within inside of our religions. We have the Ten Commandments, but there are a lot more. Moses kind of got rid of the ones he didn't like. And God has always seemed to be made in the image of man rather than the other way around. And being stuck in a place where I'm watching a lot of TV, which, as an anthropologist is all right for me to do on a limited basis because that stuff is more addictive than crack. TV is like a drug, it gets straight into your optic nerve. There is, you smell something, oh, you don't like the way it smells. You go, ooh, you walk away, hear something, ooh, it doesn't sound right. Taste, ooh, oh, that burned my finger. But not our eyeballs. We see things and it goes straight into our optic nerve. We got nothing to slow it down, to go into our cerebral cortex. So television it's mother's milk for mind control. You get, if it's on a tube, got all these lines going and hitting, that's the patterns that can put things in your mind. And man, if you're on a LCD screen like this, man, baby, they're going straight in and sucking it straight out. So we're in a very strange time, same strange place, and my whole thing is to look at patterns, long-term patterns, like billions of years long, short-term patterns, a second or two, or a minute or two, or and biological patterns like cranial sacral or your biorhythms. These are all patterns. We all are made up of patterns, and now we have a synchronistic element to us, our gut, right? There are all these little creatures in our gut, billions of them. They all got little brains, right? And we should listen to that gut feeling, right? And I think that's one thing that humans don't do. And even though I'm your Sensei Al-Bob, who's a pretty eccentric character, and but I still am a rote meat puppet, gum monkey. My string can be pulled. I try to stay aware. I try to think with my heart and feel with my head, so I won't be drawn asunder by my hormones. But we're coming to I started this series of 40 days and 40 nights. And I told you that it wasn't a linear thing, that it wasn't starting at day 1 and going to day 40, that some of these days are longer than others. When I started, I was out in the deep green, and I could only get to the library to put down a 5-minute little video, not a live chat. two or three times a week, if that. And now that I'm in a place that has pretty good Wi-Fi, the library, the school, my favorite breakfast spot, there are issues that I can speak to twice a day. And I go into the residential suite, and kind of it's. I once stayed in Japan. I've had so many different jobs, and I did them just for the experience. So I was a courier, and I did that for 6 months, if that. And what it did was, I was, I got bonded, and I would carry something to someplace in the world, and I'd have no basic. I could, basically have a little bag, a go bag that I could carry on the airplane. But the luggage that I could have took on was, there to be delivered to wherever I was, being a courier to. And I would carry things I put on, my wrist, right? And so, and what I would get for that, I would get $500 in cash before I got on the airplane, and a round trip ticket to wherever I was going, and a hotel room for up to 5 days, right? So I would, and I took flights, courier gigs to really places I've never been, like Japan, places in Asia and Africa. And I'd only be, normally I'm a guy who wants to stay there for a while. And I would stay there, 5 days. And after that, my round trip ticket wasn't any good. I couldn't, oh, I want to stay another 3 weeks. No, I had to come back. Anyway, Japan was the most interesting place. And the first time I went, I pretty much stayed in the airport. And there was a hotel right in the airport. And you didn't get a room, you got a tube. It was like, like you were staying in a tube of toothpaste, right? It was a very comfortable bed. It was the first time I ever slept on a. And the Japanese have things way before America does, that's for sure. They are high tech. And they had these mattresses that were not only foam, but like corrugated foam. So, they were like these little geometric patterns. So there was air in there along with the foam, and it was pretty amazing. I slept on water beds, and that was pretty amazing bed. And it was the generation before. They now have beds for people who stay in a hospital for years and get really bad bed sores. So they sleep on a cushion of air. Slept on one of those. Are pretty interesting. Anyway, the Japanese thing. So you were there. It was like being in your mother's womb. It was totally environmentally controlled. You could just and everything was in reach of your hands, right? And to get out of the tube, the bed was, it was really just the bed, and there was a little edge on the side, and there was a toilet there, and a refrigerator, and a microwave oven, and a big screen TV. First time I'd seen a big screen TV was in Japan. And to get out, you hit a button, and the bed kind of went like this, and you kind of slid out of the tube. Because otherwise, you really had to roll around. And you went into a hallway that went into a central lobby, and the lobby, there was a gym, there was like a movie theater, entertainment center, and a restaurant, and a bar, and karaoke thing, and lots of stuff in there. And they had over where the gym was, sauna, steam room, and a community bathroom. Well, not bathroom, bath. And it was very interesting because there was one for Japanese folk and one for everybody else. And the Japanese one was, everybody was naked and bathing together. Everybody else was kind of, you were in your bathing suit, and everyone kind of soaked in jacuzzis and spas. And you could go into the community, the Japanese one, but they definitely say, hey, man, Take your clothes, once you get in there, there's a little locker. You put your bathing trunks or clothes in there, and you can't, past this point, you got to take your shoes off. Very Japanese. And you got to be Japanese. You gotta go Japanese. And so, I had a Japanese Shinto priest as my sensei, so I thought I knew the drill. And so I went in there, and I was the only gunjay, the only white guy. And they were like amused and bemused, and some people were a little huffy because what's this white guy? It's like ick. Anyway, you're not clean, right? And so it really made me have a one-stop feeling of what was coming in the future and what it really was like to feel like the other. Now, there were, I would say, more than 70% of the folk were like I said, amused and bemused that I showed up, but they were, that I was being respectful and tried to do their culture, and they were a number came, paddled, walked over, swam over, and invited me to soak with them because in the big community pool there was a place that was deep that you kind of could do your tai chi or whatever, and there was a place that all the way around there was like a little bench you could sit on that was in the water. Not only that, not only were they growing gigantic vegetables underwater, they were doing it in the supermarkets. They had hydroponics in the supermarkets, and they were on this like Ferris wheel device that would go up into a greenhouse and then come down, and they were growing a good chunk of their food in the supermarket, so they didn't have to transport it or use up land to grow that in. And if they're going to grow something in land, it's going to be a garden. And the food they ate, they kind of grew hydroponically. I don't know how much, but it would look like almost half or more. And again, my times in Japan were very short, 5-day sprints. I went there twice. The first time I just kind of stayed in the Tokyo neck of the woods, and that was enough for me. That was like, because I did not speak the language, and the people were not. There are a lot of places I've been that people realized I was English speaking, and they wanted to speak English to me, practice their English on. Japanese, not so much. They are a xenophobic tribe to a certain degree, not a complete xenophobic tribe, but and they don't really trust white folk. I mean, hey, I wouldn't either if somebody nuked me. But where am I going with this? I'm going with this to a place where, what I've been experiencing since the snowstorm is I've been stuck kind of in the presidential suite of the $40 hotel. And I've been experiencing, I've been a quasi-homeless guy for the last 3 years. I mean, but I have alternatives, both people to stay with, friends who support me, like, the people have been putting me up in the $40 hotel. I don't even have the $40 for that. Folks of your community, of the adepts have been helping me out, and I really, really appreciate all that you guys do for me on every level. And I have, for 5 years, once I got kind of sick, before I gave up everything material, I couldn't do anything, couldn't work, but I had to do something. So I knew the city of Roanoke, and I tried to use my skill sets of an anthropologist, psychosocial cultural forensic anthropologist, to try and help this community. And I knew that Roanoke is the microcosm of America. It's got a slice of every person, right? And I used to be a landlord in Vinton. And see, Roanoke City is here, and Vinton's up here, and Salem is up here. But those two cities are actually part of Roanoke. It's like the Metroplex. And both those two little neck of the woods, Vinton and Salem, like feel like the younger sibling. And, and the county and the city have tried. They put their courts in Salem and their health department in Vinton to like expand the city and county so it's not just in Roanoke. Anyway, so when I was a landlord there, I owned these little cinder block houses along the main drag, and it was mostly white trash. And I was the only guy who rented to people. They would just ding dong, and they go, I hear you got a place for rent. I go, yep. And why have, oh, look, I got my kids in the car, and I got a job, but I have no credit, and and no landlord will rent to me. I said, good, here's the key, that one over there. But as soon as you get, the rent is this, pay me X by this date, and then the first of the month, pay the rent. That's what you got to do. No first, last, and middle. I said, no, just don't screw up. And I had 7 little houses, and I did that to 7 people. Well, the guy who bought that from me actually wasn't the same. One guy, I sold them to different people for their own homes. But anyway, it's another story. Long story short, that was, 18 years ago, 17 years ago. It was before 9/11. And now Vinton has changed completely. Vinton's population is mostly Hispanic. It's like the little United Nations. So it's Hispanic people from all over Central and South America, not just Mexicans, and a great deal of Asians, people from Thailand and Cambodia and Vietnam. And those two racial groups and black folk, those 3 racial groups make up probably 60%. So I'm in the presidential suite, and the first channel on the cable is the community, the access channel. And they put up city stuff, Roanoke stuff and Vinton stuff and Salem stuff. And I watched this one show. It was the city council and the Chamber of Commerce and the municipal characters, the police department, the fire department, EMS, library, like I said, Chamber of Commerce, and the mayor and that whole community of Vinton, right? So they were having like a Christmas party that basically, patted everyone on the back, right? Gave out awards and, da-da-da, right? Well, the population there is 60% of people of color. There wasn't one person of color. But half the businesses, the new businesses in Vinton, are Asian Hispanic, right? And all of the Chamber of Commerce awards went to the usual suspects, the Ford dealership, the old white guys who've been there. And it was really, I was just going, this is, not only is it not right, it's these people are showing their irrelevance. They don't matter. And they're not even realizing the business opportunity that they're missing. And that, within a short period of time, they will not be there, and people of color will be. And I did back in the day, before the election of 16, I did a humorous goof on the presidential thing, and I was Donnie Chump, right? And John shot it and did a very nice job of editing and, breaking news. He put all kinds of nice editing details, which I don't do. I just do live chat with you guys. And, I went on, I said, hi, I'm Donnie Chump. I'm up in the mountains, and I'm in an undisclosed location, and I am the last white man. I am I am here to tell you that I was, the main culprit of ending the white race in America, right? And that's pretty much what's going on in the fact that if we do not get under the dynamic of realizing we're all our relations. I have to fill out, to get any kind of assistance, I fill out a lot of forms and deal with a lot of, state bureaucracy. And there's always a place there, what race? And I always put human, and they get very upset with that. And but that's the only race there is human. And so when I was the only guy in the $40 motel, I was still, I was going to leave earlier. My little spidey sense, oh, you should go and have breakfast. But it was cold and gray, and the room was warm, and I was just watching television. I wanted to take a shower, and I had a cup of coffee, so I didn't need my morning cup of coffee. And I stayed there, for probably 3 hours more than I should have. That my spidey sense was, Anyway, knock, knock, knock. What? And who's there? A guy with a vest and a taser and a gun and the whole, uniform. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I shown him love's light, and his whole, he went from, his hand on his gun to, hi, how you doing? And I said, hey, good to see you. I said, put up my hand, my name's Bob. Oh, my name's Jim. And we shook hands, and he goes, oh, I'm looking for so-and-so. We have to, she's, take her off the Who scale. And I said, oh, what'd she look like? And he showed me a picture, and definitely, I hadn't seen anybody looking like this woman. And obviously, that $40 hotel is the usual place the police start. And it really kind of made me energetically sense, I deal a lot with police, since I deal with homeless people and I deal with all these nonprofits. The police have been, because Ronald Reagan got rid of, state mental institutions, and the only mental health care is for people who are rich and have insurance, good insurance. And that little story I told you about the really nice hospital for really rich people, and basically they were being milked of their money, and they weren't allowed to leave. The lady said, listen, if I'm going to die, I want to die in my own home. And they won't let her because they're making a chunk of change off of her. Their HMO, the insurance guys. And soon as the insurance companies, and you've already seen it, no longer can turn a dollar, they are just going to leave. And that's what's going to happen to California. Seventh largest, forget the stock market, doing a roller coaster. That's just, people with inside information trying to make a buck. But what's going to happen within the next, by next fire season, let's say, by next July, the insurance company is going to pull out of California in total. So if you can't get insurance on your house or your car, you're not going to be able to buy one. That's, moving folk out of those areas that they want to depopulate and stack and pack them. And that's that's like the beta little test. Largest state in America, most populated, richest, seventh largest economy of the world, that state. And, they're going after the, Silicon Valley because that's a joke. None of those morons invent anything. Bill Gates, Mr. Flavonoid, Facebook, all of those guys, they just took technology off the shelf. And I would say not even off the shelf. People knocked on their door and said, hey, you're going to be the poster boy for Facebook. He said, oh, sure, I'll be a billionaire, and he didn't realize he's just there to take the blame. Same with Donnie. Donnie, we're going to make you president. Oh, wow. They didn't realize that he was going to have to go through all this. Now, his nihilist, all these guys are nihilists. And they are, even if they're being, roasted on the spit, they're like happy to be, I'll be remembered, you know. No, I'm not in Tennessee. If I was, I'd be frozen to death because there's like 4 times more snow there than here, and it's really freaking cold. And I'll have to check into the earthquake. Well, the sun is kicking out all kinds of we're in a solar minimum. That's why we're heading into an ice age for the next 70 years. That doesn't mean we're not going to have summers, but these winters are going to be killer. And, the growth cycles are going to be totally off the hook where things aren't going to grow as they used to, and animals aren't going to be living outdoors. And it's all going to be Soylent Green burgers. And Soylent Green is people, So, I mean, it's always been Soylent Green is people. Let's see. Every state is beautiful. Every state has its own beauty and horror at the same time. Yep. So, we're all in sweet little places that are ground zero, basically. Because if you have to eat out of a supermarket, you only got 17 hours worth of food. Every day trucks come and fill up those shelves. It's on time delivery, this summer and the spring, summer, and fall, I wanted you guys to come and visit so we'd have a nice little Garden of Eden. I'd have company. I mean, if I was in the deep green now, I'd be by myself and I'd freeze to death and be dead. Now, if there were 3 or 4 people there, we could live pretty nice, because I can do a lot of stuff, but I can't do the kind of, chopping wood and this and that kind of stuff. Anyway, and they had, literally 40 inches of snow where I am, in Tennessee, in the deep green. And anyway, so I don't know, how are you guys feeling? Are you picking up any of this angst vibration of the human race, all feeling something's about to happen? Now, historically, trend-wise, it's the same as it always was. There's always war, people dying. A friend of mine was talking to me, going on about the 1,000,000 or so people who are. I said, forget that. Every friggin' year since they've been keeping numbers, close to 60 million people die or are abducted out of their lives at the behest of the powers that shouldn't be, And I'm sure all of you know people who have died or gone missing, or what the heck was that? You all have seen it. But because of your disbelief, you see a flying saucer fly. I've seen 5 gigantic flying saucers in New York City, like at ground level, guys getting out of the machine to go buy a hot dog from the street vendor, and I didn't see it on the evening news. No one, I went around my neighborhood and said, Did you see that? I think I told you the story about the two giant bread truck size ice cream cones that, were trying to have sex like 60 feet above Houston Street and Broadway, probably the most, busiest street in lower Manhattan. And no one said anything. The only people who saw it, other than me and my friend, were the Bowery bums who were drunk, writhing on the sidewalk. You know, I was living in the Lower East Side on Avenue B and 6th Street, and I was on the roof with a friend. She worked for me as an electrician apprentice, and we just finished working all day, and we went up to her roof to have a couple of beers and watch the sunset because she had a great rooftop artist garret. I mean, there's a box popped on top of a building. Anyway, and we could see the East River, and we could see the Statue of Liberty, and we're watching the sun go down, and this fog rolls in, and it goes past the Statue of Liberty, and that goes invisible, goes past the Brooklyn Bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, and then we are enveloped in this fog, and I was like no more than 3 feet from her, and I couldn't see her when I'm looking at her like this. But when I looked straight up, it was blue skies. Right? Looked at her, couldn't see anything, looked up. And she goes, "Oh, Al, put your arm out in front of you." And I did, and she put her on, and we kind of moved it around like this until we touched each other, and then we kind of drew each other to the side and hugged each other because we were like, "What the heck is going on?" And we keep looking straight, can't see anything. And we were a little scared because we knew where the edge of the roof was. We didn't want to walk, but we were like lost our sense of direction. So, we just stood where we were. And so we look up and we're looking out and we're trying to figure out how to edge our way back to the door of her garret and go inside. We'll be safe inside this weird, because it tasted, I never tasted fog, but this fog had a taste. And it was like, this isn't right. And so we kind of just inched our little toes. We kind of turned 180 from what direction we thought we were looking at the sunset. And because the whole sky around us, it was not like the sun is over in the west and it's getting darker over there. No, it was like, So we kind of inched our way just so we wouldn't fall. There was a ledge. So we were just trying to make sure that our little foot would tap the ledge if we were heading the edge of the building, because we were 6 stories up. We didn't want to go splat on Avenue B. So we kind of inched our way until, boom, we kind of came into the wall of her garret. We put our hand up there. We kind of, did the Marceau, looking for the door. We found the door. We went in. We closed the door, slammed behind us, right? And what really motivated us wanting to get inside was when we were looking forward and looking up, we saw this little glint of light above us. And as we stared at it, it came down. And as it got to maybe 20 feet from us, we could tell that it was a soap bubble. And the soap bubble came down. And as it got closer to us, a little bubble of clear air of about 4 or 5 feet was around us. And the bubble came down between me and my friend and kind of went up like this close and looked at her, and then went down her torso. And she was an amazingly shapely Swedish woman of about 22. And I was a little older, maybe 32. And it checked us out, and we looked like we were being scanned. That's when we got freaked out and ran into her garret and slammed the door behind us. And we thought we were safe, but above on the ceiling level, there were these windows. And because it was summertime, the windows, you could take the glass out and there was screen. And the bubble went up to one of those windows and oozed its way through the screen and, came down and started to look, went around and looked at all of her art that was up on the wall. And, and, just, we just, and we ran to the other door that went to where the staircase down to the street was. So we ran all the way down and we popped out on the street, and the fog was about 10 feet above the street. So when we popped out on the street, it wasn't foggy, but it was foggy 10 feet up. And we ran down to our neighborhood bar, which was like across the street and down the block. And that bar, whenever you see any NYPD Blue episodes, they use that bar whenever the cops were going to the bar. And that was our bar. So we ran in there, and it had these windows all the way around it, and it looked out onto the park down there on between A and B and between, I think, 7th and 11th. Anyway, we ran in, and there's a bartender, and he's looking at us, and we're sweating, and we're freaked out, and he goes, "What happened to you guys? Didn't you see the bubble, And the guy said, "What's he talking about?" I said, "Look at the fog." And he looks out, and you can see the fog. I mean, like the tops of the trees of the park, or you can't see them, but you can see the park, you can see the street, you can see down Avenue B, and he goes, "What fog?" And look, the fog. And he said, "What fog? I don't see any fog." Because he could see down the street, because he could see the park, he didn't look up, he didn't scan up there. And that's what the human race isn't doing. It isn't scanning the whole picture. Everything is right in front of our face, and no one's picking it up. And that's why I started doing the series of 40 days and 40 nights. And we're probably at day 32, somewhere in there. And I would hope, and I'm in my Taj Mahal library, and I would hope that you, the cadre, you, my adepts, will start, looking a little deeper at these YouTubes, these chats, and go back and start to, I was, one of the things I was watching before, Officer Howdy Doody showed up and knocked on my door, was the movie, I think it's called Contact, or this was Jodie Fisher, where she's a physicist, scientist, is looking for the meaning to life, and she's a radio astronomer, at the large collection of antennas out there in the desert, and they get a radio signal, right? And she's the smart one, and she's got a really good team, and they kind of crack everything. Anyway, she gets sent off to, another dimension to go visit our progenitors. And bottom line, all the quote-unquote experts of the powers that shouldn't be don't have a clue. And it's just her merry little band of adepts. She's got about, 10, 12 people who are her tight cadre. And they figure it out. I mean, they get all this data and they have no idea how to decode it. But, she figures out that there's a key. I keep talking about the key, and the first story I kind of told you that I was intrigued you with was the story of the the old crone, the old Irish crone. Well, what was I doing the minute I met her? I was looking at an ancient text and spinning it around, looking for the key. And because I realized that text wasn't just in two-dimensional form, it was in a multi-dimensional form. And that's what I was looking for, the primer for that, to look at it, to get it outside of my two-dimensional viewpoint, take it away from the scholastic and into the spiritual. Okay, let's see what you guys are talking about. Okay. Good day, true. Okay, that's the one I left. Good day. Hey there, Mr. Dragon. Sarah, hey. Marshall, yep. Population control. We do our best to do it for them. Sadly. 411, people go missing national parks all the time. I would say, and is this whenever, the Justice Department or Police Department or CDC or, the tax people ignore a certain statistical mean, that's an important one. And they don't keep records on missing people. And when I did a non-scientific study, I found that close to between 4 and 20 million people go missing every year in the United States. Well, I live in the deep woods. I'm safe. You just have to be on the right wavelength. Yeah, there's something in the fog. That's what they call it, a fog. There are a lot of genetically modified species that are taking the place of ones that are dying. And there are a lot of what would be called there's transhumans, but there's also trans species, like little biological robots. Well, they're not beginning. They've been doing it since day one. We're somebody's genetic experiment. Well, I'm still telling stories, guys, but I'm trying to be, instead of scattergun, be more specific, Plain as the nose on your face. Who can see their own nose clearly? Well, that, if you're only looking out of your two eyeballs, then, you can't see your nose. But if you are putting your self in state, which is multi-dimensional experience, plane, you can see everything. When you have a near-death experience, your energetic field is popped right out of your avatar, and you're looking at everything 360, every which direction. You see yourself, you see everything. And you can, that's what I'm trying to teach you guys, how to see everything. Now, I'm trying to extend my field through this little glass plane here, and it's a lot easier, if you come visit me in Dreamtime or in real time of the meat puppet reality of come visiting me here in Roanoke, he'd coming and get my ass and taking me someplace warm and we can have fun, or wait till spring and everyone can come visit the near deep woods. But I'm working full steam ahead, moving forward. Yeah, Jodie Forster, Contact. Sagan, yep, wrote that, yep. Now, Carl Baby, I knew him at Cornell. He was an interesting lad. He was definitely deep darker. Now, there's a guy who got read in. Well, Jamie, it's good to read. You know, you're a scholar, my lad. That's what scholars, first, if you just read encyclopedias, you're starting out as a scholar. I mean, scholastic. But if you move past your disbelief and sharpen up your suspension of disbelief, then you're a scholar. So, buddy, did you stay up all night or something? Is that why you're yawning? Let's see. Wednesday. Mercury. 555. Yep. Well, I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. As one teacher told me, would always say, same as it ever was. Saw a bunch 5 yesterday. Bunch of what? Yes, I do. Well, first off, see, indigenous people celebrate when people leave the mortal coil, right? And so when it's pretty obvious that you're slipping away, they make sure that the whole tribe is there with them all the time, telling stories, eating food, making the person feel comfortable and loved. And that tribe helps the individual slip off his slippers and slip into the next realm, right? So, if your boyfriend didn't do that, well, that's not the problem of his grandpa. It's the problem of your boyfriend. And because I had nothing to do with my parents for 32 years, and then I spent the next 28 taking care of them. Not like every day, but I was the most attentive sibling because I didn't need any money from them. I didn't work for them. I could just have fun with them. And why I did it? I knew they were going to die. Now, I thought they would die a lot quicker than 28 years, but hey, I got a lot more time to have fun with them. And I put down the ground rules. Hey, if you're not the fun person I know you are, I'm not going to be with you. My dad said, well, what if I fall down the staircase? Well, if you're an asshole, Dad, good luck with that. But if you're, going to be the good you, I'll be there. Anyway, so your boyfriend's grandfather has passed. You need to be the tribe that nourishes your boyfriend. Be with him. If you cook, make things he likes, kind of comfort food, whatever that is, for whatever comforts him within the context of food, whatever he likes to do, just wrap it up like a blanket around him and comfort him. And when it becomes quiet at night, turn the lights down low, get a nice candle. If you have any sage, burn some sage. And, you know, if you had any really good experiences with your boyfriend's grandfather, tell him stories of that. Then ask him to tell you stories of the best times he had with his grandfather. Because all, we love is always with us. I had a second wife who died in my arms. And then, like I said, if you want to really understand what happened, go read it in my novel, which is in xratted.blogspot.com. And so she died. I mean, really died. And then she came back 7 hours later. Meaning the only reason they didn't take her down the morgue is because I was in her, medical bed in the hospital weeping with my arms wrapped around her, and they couldn't. They said, "Well, we'll just turn the machines off, and when he gets tired, we'll take it from there." And so they just kind of, all walked out, turned the lights down low, and left me there. And I was so exhausted from that experience. I slept basically next to her, on top of her, and I went into state, and I saw her on the other side, and I saw what she was going through energetically, just like I did. That's how I was able to do it for both my parents and a number of other folks, meaning in a controlled way. Meaning I've experienced other people's death. When I was an EMT, I experienced, because my gig was, I was an EMT, and in our squad, I was like the most trained in trauma care. And so when you show up at a car accident, I mean, there are a lot of things, we had a squad of maybe 8 people would show up because we were volunteers. We came from different directions. I lived across the street. I would drive the truck, in the evenings. And most of the accidents that occurred were between twilight and sunrise. And, that's when I signed on to drive the truck. And I would show up at these really nasty accidents. And so, the truck pulls up, and the bus, which is the ambulance companies, it's a pumper, just in case there's a fire. Pumper has about 1,500 to 2,500 gallons of water in it, and it can make foam, and has all the tools, the hydraulic takeoffs, and all the jaws of life, and all the cutters, and it's like a rolling toolbox. It's got light, really lights things up well, because to do any kind of work, you got to see what you're doing. Anyway, my job was to assess how the person was, meaning I would crawl in as best I could to find the people before we started to figure out how to chop them out. And, I assess all of their life functions and put whatever kind of, we had things that we would take their blood pressure and their heart rate and their temperature sensors. We could just tape to their skin and have the wire go out to a transducer, and then off to the bus, and then off to the hospital. And anyway, that was my job to, then, I go in, assess, and then we'd figure out a strategy. And that's really where I learned my best skills in strategy. Because, man, you had to do assessment and then figure out what you're going to do very quickly. Because you really only had, someone was really hurt badly, you probably had 30 minutes to an hour to get them to the emergency room, right? And if you could get them there, it was a 95% chance of the guys at the ER could, keep them alive. Now, they may not want to be alive. And that's, part of the storyline. But, let's see. I'm gravitationally challenged. I'm sunk in the bottom of this chair here. I gotta get myself up before I rust into it. I just gotta Stick you guys up there. Coffee. Okay. And the battery was running low. So we back. You know, it's interesting how the more I do this, the more the powers that aren't try to interfere, and that should give you gang a little heads up that this is actually kind of working, important, you know, and that's why I'm still doing it, and I can energetically sense what's going on in you guys. Yeah. I mean, that's a nice paraphrase, Jamie, you know, but because we get hung up in our two-dimensional linear world, you know, and especially if we are emotionally attached, you know, the best I can say is love is the key to all things. Yeah, I know, you know, it's tough. Yep, comfort food and totally unplugging from the outside stimulation of television, cable, internet. Just turn it all off. Turn as much electricity off in your house. If you could go to the main breaker and just, well, maybe don't go that nuts, but turn the lights off, turn everything off, because those electromagnetic frequencies really can vibrate you up. Yeah, the snow is definitely put me, and that's another thing. You know, I've been. I mean, I could have stayed up at the school. I mean, the power didn't go out, but I knew if I stayed up, the power probably would have gone out, and that would have been it for JB. So I wanted to, you know, be down here, and also I wanted to, you know, the school. It's, you know, for all the loss of its spiritual energy, it's still got three ley lines going through it, and it's just that all of the elementals have, you know, they've dimmed. You know, they're still there, but the all the trees are dying. All of the, I showed you pictures of, you know, our road is like cut in this in through the forest, and so you can see every, you know, in certain areas where the hill, you know, goes this way and the road goes through it. You can see all the veins and roots of the forest and how they're interconnected, and on the day when Inga was there and the elementals were strong, you could see all the fungi interconnecting. Now, you'd have to stop and look at it. If you drove by, you know, it just looked like dirt. But, you know, all the elementals were there, and they're still there. But like I said, they've turned their juice down big time. And so, but when I'm up there, they're still, hey, how you doing? And but they're sad because my dogs are gone. My dogs were some of their best friends. my dogs played with the elementals like 24/7, you know, and most of my totems have left. The big owl's still up there, but it's gone. Anyway, so going up there often is sad for me. I mean, it's still there for me, but it's sad. Whereas the is way stronger than the school ever was, and especially after Inga died. Let's see. You know, Buddha said if we're not prepared to die, we're not ready to live. So, of course, you know, our culture, it has nothing to do with death. It wants you to be in shock all the time. Yeah, it's a process. It's not like you trip and but no, you know, I saw a guy get hit by a bus once, and it was amazing because it was just one of those things. I got off the subway and I was heading to my dentist. It was right at 34th Street where the New York City Central Public Library, and there's a big park all around it. And they had these book carols all up 34th Street. I'm a book guy, so, you know, I didn't care if he was going to drill my teeth, so I'd get there. So I was, you know, I took the subway, we got off, we came upstairs, and I was walking with about 5 people. And they had some place to go. Me, I started looking at books. But if I had walked up the street with them, you know, and, you know, some were walking faster than others, you know, some were strolling, but we all come off that subway car, and we'd all come up that steps, and we'd all, you know, walked down 34th Street, and I started looking at books. So I was stopped, and I took myself out of the equation. They walked forward, right? And so I'm about, I don't know, 20 yards to the corner where they're waiting at the light changes. They walk across the crosswalk, and I hear this crash, and I'm looking at a book. I hear this crash, and I look up, and this bus is just plowing through people. Could my battery be low when it's plugged into the power? But anyway, you know, it's plowing through people, and I see this happening, and I start running towards it, and I see this one guy. You know, the others are like run over. The tire squirting blood. Oh, it's disgusting. But this other guy, I don't know how he did it, but he was just trying to run away from the bus, and he was like, his feet weren't touching, so he didn't go under the bus, and he hit the front of the bus just as it was stopping, and it bopped him, like hit him like a tennis ball, and he flew across whatever avenue that was. Could have been Fifth Avenue. I'm not quite sure which avenue that was. I think it's Fifth. And he flew, you know, through the air, and they had trees, and he hit straight and right. And I ran over, and when he hit the bus, I saw his, you know, his spirit self, his etheric self, get knocked right out of his body. Now, kids, I'm plugged into the power source here, and this thing keeps coming up low battery. And if I disappear, you know, it's just, you know, part of the, you know, everlasting little fun of being part of Sensei Al Bob's digital character. But anyway, I'll finish the story. So he popped out of it. I saw his and he just kept going down the avenue, and he went through cars and a few other things, and then I saw him go through a side of a building and kind of float like a balloon back to his body. And I ran over to the guy, and I was taking, I was, him out, and his heart was still kind of pumping, he was still kind of breathing. He had no seeming internal or external injuries. Meaning there was, nothing was seemed to be broke. There was no open wounds, and there was no blood coming out of his mouth or his nose or his ears or his eyes, or his other orifices that I could tell. And he hadn't lost control of his elimination system. So, I'm just trying to put him, move him in a way that he's not going to be moved, and took off my coat and wrapped his torso with it, took off my sweater and rolled it up in a little thing and put it under his neck, just so that his neck would be steadied. So if he had any, problems with his spinal cord, it wouldn't move around. And that's kind of what they do when they put you on a body board. I mean, I basically prepared him to be put on a body board and to keep him from going into shock, right? And I saw, and I kept looking at his, etheric self, like when I saw him pop out of it, and I saw it float around, and I saw him, he was like a balloon, and that little golden string attached to that guy's head, and a little balloon went right into him, and as soon as it was like into him, he was like, and he came back, and he said, oh my God, what? I said, buddy, you just got hit by a bus. Don't move. The ambulance is on its way. I'm a trained EMT. Just relax, breathe, stay with me. Let me just take all of your functions and don't get upset. Stay calm, stay cool. And once I got him to a point, he said, you seemingly are in really good shape for just being hit by the bus. And there's about a few, I don't know how many folks over there, but they don't need my help. You do. And you should feel blessed, because they weren't. And so anyway, he goes, didn't I see you on the subway? I said, yeah, we were sitting across from you. Didn't you walk up the street? Yep, I was walking on the street. And then I said, don't look. Well, what happened to the other people who got off the subway? I said, you and I seems to be the only two that survived this. And he was, start to me, and I said, wait a minute, just relax. What did you feel? Because I tried to go away from the bus, and it hit me, and I flew. I said, yeah, you flew. But how come I'm right here? I flew over and I went through a building, and I was up about, 5 stories, and I looked down and I saw all the bodies, and then I saw me and you were covering me up, and I tried to get back into my body. I said, and you did. And I said, I'm going to stay with you, buddy. I'm going to go all the way to the hospital with you. My name's Al. What's your name? Larry. Okay, Larry. Just stay with me here. You seem to be fine, banged up, but fine. You were one lucky guy. I call you in. Forget Larry. Your name is LG. Lucky guy. Life is good. From this point on, you need to realize what you got here. And he started to cry. And I said, hi, well, are you okay? He goes, oh, I saw my mother, and I saw my father, and I saw my little sister. And I said, yeah, do I need to call them? He goes, no, they died in a car crash. And I did, and I was at my grandma's. And she brought me up, and she just died. And I saw her too. I said, see, how are they? They seemed to be good. They were glad to see me, and they kept telling me that I needed to go back in. They kept saying, but go back in. That wasn't my time. I said, well, it's not your time, And so I stayed with him. The bus came, you know, they put him on a board, they've got them together, and they said, "Are you a family member?" I said, "I am now." And I said, and I'm, they saw that I knew what I was doing. I said, "I'm an EMT," and they go, "Well, you can get on the bus. You got anything? I'm going with you guys." So went there, went to St. Vincent's, went into the ER room, and was there as his spiritual guide through the whole thing, saying, "Okay, they're going to do this to you now. Don't get upset. It's not, And they're like being really business, so they're not even taking any time really telling them what they're doing. And I'm saying, it's all okay. And the head guy, gal, nurse, doctor, person in charge, was basically saying, he should be here. He's doing a really good job. We might have to employ this guy. And so I stayed with him all the way, through x-ray, through everything, to where they admitted him for observation. And they said, "He's just banged up. He's one lucky guy for getting hit by a bus," because they had the traffic camera video of it, and they had access to it on their little feed into the hospital. And they saw him get, hit like a tennis ball. And then he flew through the air and hit a tree, you know. And one of the things I think that saved his life is that his etheric self was thrown out. So his consciousness was not in his body. So he did not, his body was like a bag of water, just was fine. Nothing punctured it, nothing broke anything inside it. Everything was fine. I'm sure that if he was conscious when this was all going on, he would not be as in good a shape. And that's probably why he got popped out of his little avatar bag of water. And so this last week has been one, since Saturday, one of, I've stayed in the little neighborhood, and I've been in the presidential suite of the $40 hotel. I've seen a tremendous amount of people who were outside of the stuck circle of JB in the school, right? And I pretty much was, trying to be there for JB this whole time I've been here and take the opportunity to speak to you, to try and get you, starting to realize, just like this guy who got hit by a bus and popped out of his body and kind of flew around and saw all the people he loved that were dead and realized that, things are different. They're not as, I'm told, nothing is, pretty much everything I've been told is a freaking lie, and I have to figure this out for myself. So I need to go with my gut. I have to listen to my intuition. I have to do what my intuition says, right? So, Twitchy, if you forget your job, just go with your boyfriend, If he's in another town or another, you just go there, And if the people who employ you or the people around you can't understand, well, that's a lesson for you to understand, And if you being, with him over the cell phone is good enough, well, maybe that's good enough, but you have to go with your intuition, with your gut. This is an opportunity for you to really step into, just like the guy who got hit by the bus, because I stayed with him until, he's going to stay overnight. I told the guy, "Listen, where do you live? Should I go talk to anybody? Do you have any animals that I could go feed? Is there anything?" He goes, No, I have an apartment, and it's just a crappy little apartment. I really have nothing. I've just had this crappy job. I said, okay, LG, I have some stuff to go take care of, but I'll be here in the morning. And I said, "So, doctor, when are you going to let this guy go?" He goes, "Well, probably afternoon, If you got here around 10:30 or something, that's when we're having a little, the breakfast is between 7 and 10:30. If you came here, he'd be having his little breakfast. If you can get food down, and we'll give him another little panel of looking at how he is, if he's not bleeding anywhere, if all the x-rays and CAT scans and MMRs say that he's in one piece, well, he's good to go. And if you're going to, help him get to wherever he has to go, that would be really great. So I did. I had a business. You know, was interacting. A lot of things going on, but I basically said, "Listen, everyone, you all know what to do today, and maybe the next couple of days. I'm not going to be here. This is a good test. You guys take care of business all on your own. And got any real problems? Yeah, I'll check in every at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and if there's a problem, I'll deal with it. But otherwise, you guys got it." Yes, and back in the day, we used to live 900 years long, and the powers that shouldn't be have been screwing not only with us, but the arethic fields, and that's what all the spraying chemtrails are not really, you know, screwing with the weather. The sun is the major control of our weather. Now, these morons can screw with the sun. I know that's hard to believe, but they can. And everything has a cost. They do one little thing thinking they're getting over. It's got a cost. Hey, you like that bump, eh? Buddy, I might be starting to call you Bumpy. Yeah, when people go, you know, it took me 28 years to prepare for my parents' death. So when they died, I was there for them and could make it fun for them, and comfy. Whereas my siblings, no, not so much. They were just, my sister, no, they were more focused on themselves and the material world. Buddy, you are one of the better communicators I know. And you're always here. You're always here with love in your heart. I can't lose, I just like a little nip. Like Tally said, just a little bit. Okay, gang. My friend Jamie needs our energetic support. So I'm going to read to the end here, and then we're going to do a little guided meditation. That's right, every day is a bonus, especially if we can move forward and learn something. Yep, good dogs are like children. And your pets are the reflection of you. You gotta, people see really great pets, great animals. My girl Bella had thumbs, she would have been driving more. Now the little light is lit up. Let's see. What are lives? Experience. Endure. It's a mystery. Not necessarily, gang. You know, if we go into state, if we meditate, go into our Akashic record, there's a librarian, an animal totem, I'm an angel. And you have the doorway to your ascended mind there, your sanctuary of your own choosing. And, there's 8 other doors there ready to be opened. You don't go back to consciousness at death. You're always in superconscious. You just have to wake up. Problem with suicide, it's pretty final. I've dealt with many folk who have committed suicide and came back. I've had to deal with people, families, and loved ones of suicide folk. And yet, when I was at Sloan Kettering, I understand when people were in great pain. And like the hospital I was in Advent Sunday, those people were just, all their assets and monies were being sucked out of them. And as soon as they had nothing to give to the HMO, they'd be dead. But most of them were there 4 and 5 years. They just wanted to go home and die. And the HMO wouldn't let them. And that story I was telling you about the fog, that was a day when gravity was a little less. Okay, I will do my best to put together a Patreon account. I know I give excuses. I'm venal, I'm lazy, I'm all the above. But any of you guys there who are internet savvy, get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 and walk me through it. Oh, buddy. And nothing is forever except love's co-creation. That's the only thing that is forever. Okay, I'm at the bottom of the chatting list here. And move to Roanoke. No. Come and get me and take me to some warm place. Roanoke really is, as a demographer, social scientist, Roanoke's like a coal mine. You can dig up a lot of things. But to really do something extraordinarily fun, life, and, this ain't the place. Pretty much everyone's just in a hole here. I just keep coming back because all my doctors are here. And I have a semi safety net. And I know how to navigate this, right? Now, my deep green, if there were a few people with me, that would be a great place to have a nice little community stuff. That, gardening, everything would grow, blah, blah, blah. It's right in it's only, 30 miles to Boone, college town, 35 miles to Johnson City, big college town, about 50 miles to 60 miles to Asheville, maybe 120 to Atlanta and Charlotte. I mean, it's probably a little less, 175 to DC, 200 to New York. So it really is quite an interesting. The deep green is a really interesting, centrally located area that's in the middle of nothing. Meaning, for 200 square mile radius around me, there is nothing. So the air is unbelievably pure. The sky is amazingly clear. The water is really blessed, and there's a ton of energy vortexes, and you want to see all the things I talk about. That's the place to go visit. And we could definitely do ceremony there and get our souls up to snuff to take it on the road. Souls, yeah, that's love's co-creation, buddy. It is paradise, it is paradise. But it's still, right in the middle of Babylon. But it's the nicest place I've come across that's in the middle of Babylon. So we could do some good there. We could really, there's so many people we could talk to, energize, and when we put together a little show, you could actually make some funding. So if you guys, or don't like the job you're in, the place you're in, when spring comes around, or right now, come and get me. Let's go to the Florida Keys. It's still trashed. We could get jobs there and it'd be warm. And I used to have a house in the Keys. It's really a nice place. It's very expensive, but I know how to live there cheap. We could also take a nice little stroll along, 10, along the coastal, hit New Orleans, hit Las Vegas, and hit LA. I know a lot of new age people in LA, and I have a friend of mine in Florida who kind of needs to get out of her funk and take a stroll. What better than to put together a little strolling circus and take it on the road and have some fun. Yes, but the old crone had a really nice Swedish sauna. A sweat is like a mobile sauna. You take it wherever the ceremony's going to be. It's interesting about that, buddy. The chemtrails, yeah, they're up there, but they don't seem to affect it. Its energetic field is so strong, and I really think chemtrails have more to do with their attempt to harness the psychic energy of the meat puppets than really control the weather. And so now you go to Boone, you go to Johnson City, you go to Asheville. Now those places, it's pretty cranked up in those places. But the chemtrails are basically the medium. They have to dump other energetics into it to focus. A good example is the incineration of California. That was done through some form of, one man's magic is another man's science. Another great movie I saw was Doctor Strange. Any of you guys seen Doctor Strange? It's a good movie. Go see it. The Scythians that they show, watch the movie, and when they're creating the Scythians in time, space, hit the pause button and draw them. There you go. There's a good Scythian to visualize. That scene when he's in the library, in the ashram, in Kathmandu, they show a number of books where the camera actually slows down enough for that you can hit pause and you can see the title of the book. Pause it. There, you guys are always, what book should I read? Yeah, go read those books. Good luck trying to find them, but that's half the fun. Yeah, from inside out. And whole houses incinerated and their front lawns are as green as ever. You know, bushes right next to cars that are just dust of aluminum. It was a energetic, a space-based energy weapon. Magnetism or lasers or a scalar. Not quite sure. I'd have to be there and take a look at the evidence. Yes, of course. Yeah. Again, one man's magic is another man's science. Now, I'm a responsible shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic anthropologist, alchemist, in that I don't do anything if it's not going to do a positive outcome. I don't do it for my ego. I was trained to be an acupuncturist by a great Chinese acupuncturist. And I realized that you almost have to be Chinese, just because you know what point to put that needle in. Most, white Anglo-Saxon acupuncturists put the needle into X, Y, or Z point and put moxie on it, light it up, and let it go. They don't know that you're supposed to energetically control it. They don't know that you're supposed to muscle test that point first to see what kind of moxie. They don't know that the moxie you're supposed to use, you're supposed to make yourself rather than buying at the Walmarts of all things New Age, So that's why I didn't practice it. What I did practice was shiatsu massage. And shiatsu massage is acupuncture without the needles. It's where you put your fingers on those points and you muscle test it, and then you energetically move the chi and the prana down on the cellular level. And I know I can do that. When you guys see me in the deep green, I have my amazing massage table, and I will show you all how to heal. I will teach you all of the energetic healing skills I have, and you will learn as best as you can, and you will do and not try. And buddy, I know you will always do well. Yeah, and I'm 100% with you on the, it's all that crap's in our food and our smart meter and the Internet of Things. Yeah, that's why do you think I live in a place that has no internet, no radio waves whatsoever, no no cable, none of that, right? And it's sawtooth mountains, so it breaks up whatever wavelength. So the deep green is as clean as you can get if you're not in a hermetically sealed bubble. So the hermetically sealed bubble we put ourselves in is in our auric field. And that's why I keep telling you guys, practice your meditation, 20% in, 30% out. Because the prana and chi are love's energy. Where everything else, as Saint Germain would say, love is the only vehicle for creation through co-creation. All else is illusion. And, I don't want to be, I want to wake up out of the illusion. You got it, Jimmy. to a town near you unless you imbibe in love, love's protection, its own unmatched in power or majesty. You got it. That's it. Oh, buddy, buddy, buddy. My sensei was a qigong master. He was a master at everything he practiced. He was the one who told me that, I'm pretty good at a lot of things, and a lot of people go, "Oh, you're a jack of all trades, master of none." And my sensei told me, "No, whatever you do, be a master at it, and don't try, do, right?" So I'm a master electrician, master photographer, master healer, master scholar, you know, master alchemist, you know. I'm not a master magician. That's I haven't got there yet. I'm the magician's apprentice. I'm adept at that, and my teachers, of all the things that I haven't mastered yet, are not in this corner. And that's why I meditate, 4 or 5 times a day. But I'm still, a moron. 10% of every day I'm unconscious. 10% to 50% of every day, I lose focus. I don't keep the eye on the ball. Yeah, 5G is, here in Roanoke, them putting up 5G antennas virtually on every telephone pole. Virtually every house in this town is, 100 yards to an antenna. That is not good. Buddy, as long as you keep trying, as long as you keep taking baby, it can be just a centimeter of a step forward. That's all that matters. We're not heading for a finish line anywhere soon. I know I'm not. I've died 6 times already. Haven't seemed to be able to get to that finish line, I've been around death a lot to know that, that's not, it's just part of life, And the thing is that it's the greatest joy our bag of water has given us, because it is the connective tissue to our, our subconscious mind, which takes us to our superconscious mind. That takes us to the physical connection to love's co-creation. That gives us the perspective to, in every day and every way, take the piece of the earth and make it stronger. Sun in a box. No, Jane, I have not heard of sun in a box. Oh, okay. Well, there's tons of technology. We've had 0-point energy basically since Ben Franklin. So, see, I learned in the 70s that the issues aren't technologic. We've got all the technology we want. We are, why did Gene Roddenberry do Star Trek? Because he was trying to put out into the etheric field. Gene Roddenberry was a magician. He was an alchemist. And he put out all of that, he was trained during World War II to, be a mind control operative, to do remote viewing. He was part of that crew of Aleister Crowley and the guy who started JPL and the guy who started Hubbard, started the religion. They were all part of this, for a better, did you ever see the movie Hellboy? Pretty much those guys worked for that, Federal Bureau of Astrology or whatever that thing was. And I mean, that was a very good movie, how Hellboy popped in from another dimension, and the Nazis were screwing around that. So were we. That's what the, Philadelphia experiment was about. So these technologies have been around for at least 1,000 years within the grasp. Why do you think the Holy Roman Empire threw the human race into 900 years of the Dark Ages? Because that technology was being unearthed at that time. And they knew that if the human race got the ability to have unlimited power and get off this planet and go into other dimensions and other planets and other solar systems and other galaxies, they would lose their control. Yeah, of course, probiotics make you fart, and farting is good. It gets that shit out of you. That's why shitting is good. Jack Parsons. Is he one of those guys I was talking about, or is he a game show host? Auxiliary note. Nick, what is aux mote? I've heard it before. You might have even mentioned it before. Especially, and you guys, if you're going to take any kind of supplements or work on your diet, learn how to muscle test. Because then you can muscle test everything you're going to eat, put in your body, and see if it's good for you. Yeah, the stuff you have to drink. I used to work on those machines, and the energy that they put through you. Woo-wee. Only going to get weird. Yep, as Louise Etra said to me, because I've always had really interesting business cards. It's like one of my art forms. And let's see. I think I have one in my pocket. Oh. Yeah, here we go. Of course, it's backwards. There's a little thing I drew. And here's the other side. And there's the mysterious phone number to your Sensei Al Bob. And so you can put that on pause and give me a buzz. Yeah, JPO. Yep. That makes sense. Jack Parsons. Yep. Mm-hmm. And all those guys were doing magic, They were like Doctor Strange there. Ow. Anyway. Okay, guys. So, for Jamie's friend, and all those who are our friends, all our relations, who have experienced loss, are going to meditate now. Breathe in 20% more than you normally do. And breathe out 30%. Focus your conscious mind totally on your breath. Quiet down the little monkey in your brain. Slow down that squirrel in that cage. stop thinking about all the things that don't matter and focus on that one thing that does, and that's love's co-creation. I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and as I do, you're going to go deeper and deeper into a state of conscious relaxation. So you're sitting down, lying down, you're not crossing your legs, your arms, your fingers, your eyes, nothing. Keep everything so the flow of the prana can come in through the top of your head to your crown chakra and flow through your whole body. You're breathing it in through your nose. You're filling your lungs, and you're breathing out 30% more. That's allowing it easier to breathe in that prana. Prana is the life energy that animates that bag of water. That's your avatar to your consciousness. The prana is the golden string that connects your consciousness into your avatar. It's more powerful than any Wi-Fi or fiber optic line. And 1, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation. We're energizing ourselves with that prana, and we're grounding ourselves through our feet with our chi, and we're letting the flow, life's energy. We see it in our imaginary mirror behind our eyelids, and we see that energy of prana go into our lungs. We see the red blood carrying the energetic energy in the iron cells. You see the blood flowing through your arteries, your veins, your capillaries in a multi-phased swirl. On the outside of the vein wall, it flows clockwise. Inside that clockwise motion is another swirl going counterclockwise, and inside of that is another swirl going clockwise. And what your blood is doing is being carried through your body, and your body is carrying current, polyphase electric scalar current to every cell of your body. And you see in your imaginary mirror every cell splitting and a mitochondria being like little lightning bolts. And when you infuse that energetic fusion with love's co-creation, all things are possible. So we're taking that love-infused energetic flow, and we are combining it together in an alchemical ceremony, right here, right now. And every day and every way, we're taking the piece of the earth and making it stronger through love's co-creation. We are fortifying all of those we love who are suffering, who are going through things that we really can't help physically, but we can at this moment help them emotionally. See it strong. The interruption was just a sign that what we are doing has great connection with love's co-creation. It just shows us how strong, as Marshall once said, we are all little pebbles in the pond creating a great tsunami of love's co-creation. See, it's strong. We are sending this flow specifically, this love, to Jamie's twin flame. And we're sending that love through her twin flame so he can be connected to all that he has lost. Let him see through his imaginary mirror the memories of all the good times. And that's what memories are. They are little fractals of love's co-creation. Because memories are all good. The things that we feel that are sorrow or that are anxiety or fear are just memories not understood correctly. And when put through the fractal of our Akashic record, and we can get perspective, then we can learn something. And if we can learn anything, whatever we experience is worthwhile. And if we can take that knowledge and not have to fall into the same symptom of doing the same thing over and over and over again, that is a good thing. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Fletch. Twitchy, we are with you. All our love and one love. Thank you, Dragon. We're all here now. We were bombarded there for a little bit with distraction, which only solidified our ability to interact in a harmonic way through alchemical means of love's co-creation. See that strong. So just for a moment, I want everyone to be quiet and go to your Akashic record and open up your Akashic record. Your librarian has brought it to you. You're sitting at your reading table. You'll go in there quickly. And I want you to see this experience and what it means to you on the higher plane in your Akashic record. And look at the 28 screens and see what connection, what interface, what different angles, perspectives that you can see. And then, whatever is a quandary, your animal totem will give you a story that will put it into perspective. And your guardian angel will watch your back. And you will feel safe and secure. And two, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of conscious relaxation. Your conscious mind now is no longer focused or present in the meat puppet reality. You are in your Akashic record, looking at your record, looking at the screen, getting the 411 on everything that this little chat has to do with you. It's going to be one of those benchmarks of your life where you're going to say, wow, I've stepped up here. You know, I'm not kidding around anymore. You know, I'm kind of learning this. I am mastering, I am doing. Sensei Al-Bab, said, don't try, do. His teacher Yoda told him not to try, but do. Yoda is your teacher too. If you've seen any of those movies, Yoda is your teacher. So is Obi-Wan. Yeah, it's, of course distraction's going to be loud. What do you think? When the morons who are the powers that shouldn't be are trying to interrupt, break, control, think they're just going to do it with a sweet little chocolate kiss? No. Let's, and next time we do this, I'm going to turn off all of my enunciators, Let's see if I can. Okay. I think I silenced the lamb there. Of course, we were all in a higher plane of consciousness, and then, that moron tries to break it up. But what did you guys experience in your Akashic record? I can see by your auric fields that you all had something, and it like, but I keep telling you, just a little bit. That's all it takes. So, let's see. You know, buddy, you don't have to apologize for anything because we all love you. We all love each other. We're all here as all our relations. My second wife always said, saying you're sorry is not good enough. It's a good start, though. And my sensei in Vermont always said, by good example comes good practice. None of us are perfect. We are all in this frame. Failure is not being wrong. It's an opportunity to learn. So, as long as we keep moving forward, even if it's centimeter by centimeter or hair by hair, that's a blessing. Well, Fuzz, I tell you, buddy, whenever we say words of, oh, I can't do that, well, you're not going to do it. I'm doing that, and I am doing it in every day and every way to take the piece of the earth and make it stronger. So just doing it just a little bit. Good. Next time you do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Practice makes perfect. That's good, Rab. Any visions, any image, like Grandfather David, he would put me through the paces. And every time I thought I was like, oh God, he said, did you have a vision? You know, I remember once, being in a sweat with him, for a day. And I mean, I had like sweat, I was like dust. They would say, did you have a vision yet? I was like hallucinating, but it wasn't a vision. It was like, and he just kept me in there until he said, screw it, let's get out of here. I'm about to die. And, that's when I tripped and almost whacked my brains out on a rock. And it sizzled because it just had come out of the fire pit. And that's why I got it's like I was tattooed over here, or branded is more like the thing. And he grabbed me by my long hair and dragged me out. And, he had tons of water out there and soaked me in the water. And in that moment of, when he said, screw it, let's get out of here, I'm dying. I got up, and I was like kissing the ground because that was cooler than the foot above the ground. And, the foot above that was like 300 degrees hotter. I kind of got up. I should have just crawled out like he did, but I kind of got up to run out of there, and that's when I went out. And that whack my head over there on the rock and get tattooed, branded, and he dragged me out. And he threw the bucket of water on me. He said, did you have a vision? And I said, yeah, I did. Was it me dying? Because I thought I was dying. And then I realized, it was you in there with your head in the fire pit. So I dragged you out by your hair. I said, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was, and what it was just a light show. You ever whack yourself in the head and saw stars? I mean, that's kind of what I saw, but a little more like, again, that scene from Doctor Strange when he first meets, the Eternal, and he's still being arrogant, insufferable, egocentric moron, and she just hits his third eye, and he's like bouncing all over the universe. That's what that was like. And instead of, you know, the Eternal just putting a finger on my third eye, it was a hot red rock that whacked me upside the head. So, one way or the other. That's it. Keep on keeping on, bud. And all of you. Buzz, there is no, just as long as we move forward. That's it. You know, uh, my, again, my Japanese teacher always told us that if you don't give up, you win. Just keep at it. And just keep plugging, just keep plugging, just keep plugging. He said, that's what life is. Just keep plugging, just keep plugging. Yep. Well, both of those are good. Exuding and extruding, right? Exuding is that kind of form of putting the energy all around you. Extruding, what do we do in extrude? We take the alchemical metal and we extrude it out and make something new out of it, right? So, however you want to visualize it, Bud, and the rest of the cadre, it's an individual thing. We're all individuals, so we're not going to have a cookie cutter experience, And my little guided meditations are just an assistance, until you pick up your own visualization of how to get there, you know. Yep. Oh, dandelion tea is great. Honey, food grade, hydrogen. Hydrogen peroxide. It's rocket fuel. you know, yes, food grade hydrogen peroxide. If you have a bad infection, you know. But again, before you guys start taking stuff like that, you really need to learn how to douse, how to muscle test, because you muscle test. Like you're going to take hydrogen peroxide. How much are you going to take? A spoonful? I don't think so. A drop, maybe. You're going to put it in water. You're going to do this. Put it under your tongue. What are you going to do with it, right? First of all, what you never do with hydrogen peroxide is put it in any mucous membrane. Your eyes, your nose, your genitalia. You don't do it there, right? On your skin? Yes. Maybe. Again, this is why muscle testing is so important, because it can tell you how to use the product. And iodine is frigging poison. Don't put that inside your body. It's a nasty metal. Well, tearing is a pretty I like a buddy's little idea of extruding and exuding. Those are a little less violent. But the passion that you're expressing there is do everything with love's co-creation. There is no failure. Plugging away. Yep, just keep going. Yeah, send in my underwear. Oh God. Again, hydrogen peroxide actually is rocket fuel. It's a pretty caustic material. You should, unless you guys really, doctor, do no harm. That's why I didn't practice acupuncture, even though I learned it from a great master, and he said that I was a good practitioner. And I told him, Sensei, I'm very blessed by your patience and love for me, but I'm only do shiatsu massage. And he goes, well, that's great. That's, your fingers are going to be your noodles, you're really good at that. And I wasn't going to tell you not to do acupuncture. I wanted you to come to that decision yourself. And that's where we have to be. We have to have the of love co-creation inside of us, so we, don't let our ego make the decisions for us. And we all need our sleep, The presidential suite is, thing that, I'm only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep because I'm watching so much TV. But as soon as I leave there, I'm not watching no more. Yes. Well, Amy, most human beings are scatologically obsessed. Oh, baby. Cobwebs are very good. Yep. And it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't, food grade hydrogen peroxide in a little bottle, put a couple of drops, you get a boo-boo. Hydrogen peroxide, first thing, great. After that, put a Band-Aid, wash your hands, use a microbial soap. And then little golden seal extract, Then there's a thing called bag balm and udder balm, which are very good. And there are many, black tar oil is really good. And again, learning how to muscle test first. That way you can go through, when you really get good at muscle testing, you can have an herb book in front of you and just put your hand on the picture of the herb and then muscle test the spot on yourself or the person you're working with. I can't speak any higher of than muscle testing. And I'm going to try how to figure out how to give lectorials on all of these techniques over the screen, and it'll be interesting. I know. I mean, I can read you guys energetically through the screen, so I should be able to teach you energetically through the screen, and that'll be like a first, at least for me anyway. And it'll be a nice little synthetic tool to strengthen my etheric muscles. Thought you were cute little things. Well, Jamie, if you haven't realized, our little avatar bag of water is one big stinking part. And the amount of how much you stink is how well you control your etheric self. You know what else is really good? Cayenne pepper, because it brings oxygen really quick to whatever. I mean, internally it's really good, externally it's really good. Cooking with it is really good. Cooking with all these healing herbs is really good. And the most important thing is to, you know why we have the habit or thing of praying over food? Because it energetically just pumps it up. I have a good buddy of mine. He's, lots of fun. He can almost turn water into wine. He's really good at taking a, $3 bottle of wine and making it taste as good as any other bottle. And, he makes a big deal out of it. I mean, I do it all the time. I mean, here we have Kroger's. Kroger's has a wine that, it's $3. It's like $2.99, right? It's like the, sneaky Pete of their brand. But I just kind of bless it and then drink it. And it doesn't have the effect that alcohol has on me. It tastes really good when I share it with other people. And I don't tell them, wow, this is a great bottle of wine. What'd you pay for this? 40, 50 bucks? And then I kind of show them the Kroger price, $2.99. Yep, consciousness flows where attention goes. You gotta keep your eye on the ball. Yep, it's good for everything. I great osteopath doctor. His name popped in my mind. He was a really old guy. I was in my mid-20s, and he'd come in New York and have these lectures, and he'd have a full hall of people. And he had his favorites, and there were, many of Sensei's students were his favorites. And one of the old crone's favorite, anyone of Madame Kruger favorite, and one of Billy's. He had all these fellows, and any of their students. We were adepts that, we were more than just pretending. We were working. We were moving forward. We were trying. We were doing. So we would be the teacher's pets. And I remember one time, he had these bowls of different herbs, and he was packing his eyes with cayenne pepper, and it was like, and my mouth was open like, because, he took a whole handful, packed his eyeball, and it packed the whole socket. And then his eyes would tear so much that the tears would come through the cayenne pepper that were dry, and then just like fall off in clumps, right? And his eyes would be like Niagara Falls. And he would blink his eyes a little bit, and his eyes would be red, redder than any, road map. But within 10 minutes, his eyes were clear and sharp and everything. That whole period of time, I'm like, so he goes, Al, come on up here. And he goes, I'm going to pack your eyes with cayenne pepper. And my eyes are, I got these owl eyes. And Sister Holy Roller Skate nearly popped this one out of my head when I was in first grade. She broke the orbit in my eye, so it has issues. And he goes, you trust me, don't you? I think his name, Dr. Christopher. That pops into my head. Anyway, he goes, you trust me, don't you? And I go, yeah, I trust you. I take my glasses, and he goes, now here you go. You have to do this yourself. I go, what? Yes. I'm not going to stick this in your eye. I wouldn't do that to you, but you have to do it yourself. So, take a thing, and I'm like, okay. and I poke it in there, and then and it's like I don't feel anything for a second or two, and then he goes, okay, the next eye, and I still don't feel anything. I go, no, I don't really feel anything. It's okay. And the instant I stuck that one, my eyeball was like a nuclear explosion, right? It zang, because we really don't have too many pain sensors in there of that level. But once you cross the threshold, your eyeball is really sensitive. And and so I was, and then he had me sit down before I did this, and so he came back behind me and put his hands, his two big hands on my shoulders, and held me in that thing so I couldn't get up or move around. And he goes, just breathe, breathe, 20% in, and then I was there in the sweat with Grandfather David and him going, "Are you having a vision?" And I was flitting around to all my teachers, and they were all talking to me at the same time, and I was just crying and crying. And then it was like the veil was lifted, and I saw things that were right in front of my nose, right there. And he goes, "Here, drink this." And he gave me a glass of dandelion, a little bit of cayenne pepper, hippus, chamomile, peppermint, and mint. Warm, not hot, not cold, warm. And I drank 2 or 3 of those, and I felt I felt better than I felt in a long time. And he goes, "Okay, how you feel?" I said, "Pretty, do your eyes sting?" I go, I can't tell." No, I couldn't even feel my eyes. They were on another plane of existence. Yeah, no, you're not supposed to do it that way. You can't just throw a cap down your throat and take some water. It'll burn a hole in your stomach. You have to start out gently. Have a tea with just a few flakes. And then he said, from now on out, get an eye cup and put, 5 or 6 flakes of cayenne pepper in the water in the eye cup. And take, 20 little flakes of golden seal and put it in there. And swish it around a little bit. And then put the eye cup. Most things work way better diluted. And that's one of the problems with, allopathic medicine, pharmaceutical brands, is that they hit you with a sledgehammer, instead of a light breeze. Light breeze works much, much better. Yeah, starting cayenne's pretty, and that's, any of you guys have a neti pot? Neti pot is great because it's like an eye cup for your sinuses. Your sinuses are connected to everything, your lungs, your throat, you name it, right? So if you start flushing out your sinuses with a neti pot, and that's an ancient medical tool. And now they have these new ones I've seen on TV that are, a friend of mine has one and I tried it out. And it has 2 little sections. And it has a section where you put whatever you want to flush through your sinus. And then it has another one that evacuates it, takes the crap out. So you put it up into this sinus, it goes up here and around and comes out this one. It's high-tech things aren't always bad. It's just the problem. Like I said, the Institute for Aesthetically and Adept and Appropriate Technologies. Technology isn't bad. It's the aesthetically adept and appropriate use of them. Now, we have more technology. We have 1 billion years of technology, right? And we can access it through the Akashic Record. How do you think Nikola Tesla invented all this stuff? He didn't discover it. He went into state and he has a little laboratory. I mean, Mr. J.P. Morgan and Edison burnt about 20 of his laboratories to the ground and made sure that they burnt every, piece of document he had. They either stole it or burnt it. And it didn't matter because it was all up in his, you know, shamanic library up there, right? Same thing with Farnsworthy, who was just a yokel farmer who invented television soup to nuts, right? And when he wrote a little letter to, General Sarnoff of NBC, General Sarnoff, he owned radio, RCA, and he owned Marconi, he owned Tesla, he and J.P. Morgan, and that's one of the people you don't hear much about, General Sarnoff, Mr. RCA, Mr. Rockefeller, all the above. And those guys were the guys who clamped down on in a corporate way to keep us out of. We should have been in the 21st century in the 1870s. Well, forget the 21st, 23rd century, And that's what Star Trek was about. That's what Gene Roddenberry was trying to do, was to kickstart that through a, alchemical ceremony called a TV show. Anyway, Farnsworthy invented television, and he wrote a letter to, and that was General Sarnoff's real big pitch. Oh wow, we have to invent TV, because they had ideas of it, but they were going all the wrong way. So Farnsworthy says, "Hey, I just invented TV, and I got all the technology. Why don't you come and visit?" And he'd get letters saying, "Yeah, you're just a hoke farmer out there in the mid. What do you know? You don't have an engineering degree. You didn't go to school. Blah blah blah." Anyway, he kept sending him, diagrams and equations and letters, and so Sarnoff sent his boys to go to his barn and steal everything and burn it to the ground, right? And so, Farnsworthy was, oh shucks, and he kind of, went back to the drawing board in his Akashic record, and he did, I don't know how many times I lose a thumb drive, or back in the day when I was a scholar, when they had floppy disks, if you didn't save things every 2 minutes, I was at this one university where their grid it just would crash like at least 4 times a day. So if you were writing anything on a computer, you had to save, I don't know how many, because once I get into a writing jag, I just keep going. I'm connected to love's co-creation. I don't think to save, right? And it wasn't, but every time that happened to me, I'd have to rewrite the document all over again. And a good deal of my work would be research that came from tons of stuff, and I would have it on the RAM, and it'd be gone. And so I'd have to do it over again, but the time I did it over again, it would be better, because I remember what I wrote the first time, and the second time was better. So anyway, so that's why mistakes are good, because they teach us. So Farnsworthy, built TV again, and he said, "Hey, I my barn burned down, and it seemingly I lost everything, but hey, I redid it, and it all works pretty good. Why don't you come and visit?" So again, General Sarnoff says his henchmen to go steal everything and burn the barn down, and after about a year, Sarnoff sends his emissary to Farnsworthy saying, "Hey, listen, we found your stuff, and we can't kind of make it work. We don't quite understand it. Can you come? We're going to hire you. Pay you. Bring your family. Get you a nice house in New Jersey. Pay you really good, and we'll help you build your dream." So he goes there. He signs a bunch of contracts that he doesn't really read, and he goes to work, and he again takes it all the way to where it's a commercial viable, can be reproduced and manufactured in factories. And after he gets this done, and it's just before, it's in the late 30s, and they're getting it ready. They know World War II is going to come. A lot of this technology can be retrofitted into weapons, and so Sarnoff brings Daddy TV and his family into Sarnoff's office in the RCA building, like on the 48th floor. And in Sarnoff's big office, he's got these French doors that open out onto Fifth Avenue, but there is no balcony. The doors just. And so Farnsworthy tells the guy, okay, you've done a great job, and we now own you and everything about what you've done here. What we need you to do is we need you to sign one more contract that will totally, my name will go on it, and Farnsworthy will never be heard of in the history books, because we've done all kinds of things that if we really mention you, it won't be good for our product line. It's got to be RCA all the way, not Farnsworthy. So Farnsworthy goes, what are you talking about? And he goes, and so General Sarnoff snaps his fingers. Two of his bully boys pick up his two little kids and dangle them out the French doors over Fifth Avenue. And he goes, if you don't sign, I'm dropping the kids. And then it's your wife. Then it's you, and you won't be around, so, even though you haven't signed this document, you've signed so many others, we'll kind of own it. And so, his kids are dangling out the window. So he goes, okay. So they bring the kids in, and Farnsworthy signs, and then the bully boys grab him and drag him over to the French door windows and says to him, oh, listen, we still can't have you kicking around, but I will promise to take care of your wife and your kids, make sure they have everything they need. And by me throwing you out, you won't be around. People won't know it. I will give her a different last name along with your kids, and give them the good life. And it's the Joe Stalin treatment. Whenever he came up against the Stalinist obstructionist, but said, wait a minute, Stalin, that's we're supposed to be all one and all. Stalin would blow his brains out. But then he would, give his wife and kids a nice state house and school and bring them up, as Uncle Joe's kids. And that's what General Sarnoff did. Am I still frozen? Popped on my timeline about. Okay. Busting the groove. So, are you hearing me, gang? Or am I just talking to myself? So we've been talking now 2 hours and 28 minutes, and I haven't really eaten anything all day, so I'm going to bust a move, as Buddy would say, and I'll get back to you maybe later tonight or definitely tomorrow at breakfast. Okay? Yep. Yes, I hear. I love you all. And this was a great chat. We moved forward together. We brought all our relations with us. The rest of the adepts were part of this. I'm always just talking to myself the whole time. Later, everyone. Peace and love. Later, Mr. Jack. Later, Jane. All my family. Later, buddy. You stay well. Fletch, you too. So here we are at 2 hours and 29 minutes and 53 seconds. Later, Rab. I will sign off at 2 hours, 30 minutes, 30 seconds. Here we are, 2 hours, 30 minutes, 33 seconds, 30 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds. 12, 13. Soon, yep. Come tonight to Dreamy Dreamland in our sleep, okay? Two hours, 30, 29, 30. There it is. Sweet dreams, fans. Loved ones, I love you. See you soon.